Vanakkam, hello. Welcome to the eighth topic of Heritage of Tamils. In this topic, we have two subtopics: Tamil epics and impact of Buddhism and Jainism in Tamil land. So we will see all of this one by one. Tamil epics. In Tamil, we call the epics as Kapiyam or Kaviyam. Typically, they are very long. As we have seen in the classical literature of Tamil, the classical literature of Tamil itself contains two of the epics of Tamil, Silappatikaram and Manimekalai, which are further classified into Aimperunkappiyangal, five great epics. And there are also other smaller epics, which we call Ainjirunkappiyangal, five lesser epics. We'll talk about them in detail. And there is a possibility of old Ramayanam and Mahabharatam in Tamil, even in the Sangam era itself, which is now completely lost, except for a few mentions. For example, in Sangam literature, there is a poet called Bharadam Padiya Perundevanar. It indicates that that poet has sung Mahabharatam in Tamil. In another copper plate grant, when the copper plate is mentioning all the achievements of the Pandya kings, it says Mahabharatam Tamil Porutha Sangam Vaitum. So the Pandyan kings have run the Tamil Changam, and one of the purpose mission there is to translate the Mahabharatam or produce Mahabharatam in Tamil. So there is a possibility of a old Tamil Ramayanam Mahabharatam, but we unfortunately lost them. And there is another very old epic which is very equivalent to Silappadigaram itself. This is called as Perunkadai, Brihat Kada. So it's from coming from the original of Brihat Kada is said to be from a Prakrit language called Paisasi. And then another edition is available in Pali. And Kongu Velir, a poet in Tamilnadu, he translated this epic into Tamil as Perunkadai, the literal translation of the word Brihat Kada, Perunkadai. This talks about the story of Udayana and his son Naravana Datta. So this Perungadai, we lost some of the initial portions and some of the final portions, but whatever is available is a very beautiful and a very rich text, very equivalent to Silappadigaram itself. And the story of this Udayana Kumara is again told in one of the Ainjiran Kapiyangal as Udayana Kumara Kapiyam. So that is also there. And we also have the famous Kambaramayanam, Periya Puranam, Kanda Puranam, Kanchi Puranam, Thiruvilayadal Puranam. These are all somewhat later day epics, and there are so many other epics in Tamil. So let us familiarize ourselves with some of the epics of the prominent epics of the Tamil language and what they deal with. So first of all, this classification, Aimperunkappiyangal, Ainjirunkappiyangal, we are not sure who did this classification. It appears to be a very later day anthology of putting these as Aimperunkappiyangal and Ainjirunkappiyangal. One of the reason is, and this seems not proper. One of the reason in Aimperunkappiyangal, Silappadigaram, Manimekalai, Sivaka Sindamani, these three epics, they were completely available to us now, and definitely they deserve the title as Perunkapiyam, Mahakavyam, or a great epic. Definitely they do that. The other two, Valayapati and Kundalagesi, we have not got them completely. We have lost them, except for a few verses, as I mentioned here. Very few verses are available based on the mentions in other commentaries. So only a few of them is obtained. And even with what is obtained and what people interfere, what people infer to be the story of these epics, they don't seem to be very good. So they are basically written to refute or establish certain religious philosophy. So in that sense, they are not very much comparable to the other epics. And even in Ainjiran Kapiyangal, there are a few epics which are very good actually. They are equivalent to some of the great epics, but others are very simple, so very small and all. So we will see this in detail. Silappadigaram, Manimekalai, we have already seen in detail in the classical literature of Tamil, the fourth topic. So you can go there and refer to them for the details of them. I'll simply mention here, Silappadigaram is written by Ilango Adigal, Chera prince who turned to be an ascetic, and it was written somewhere before the modern Bhakti era. So the Silappadigaram is typically dated around 300 CE. It is affiliated to Jainism. The people say it is affiliated to Jainism, and it is the original story of Tamilagam, because the story of Kovalan Kannagi that happened in Tamilagam, and the poets were inspired by that, and they wrote the poet. Typically, many of the epics available in Tamil, as is the case for most of the Indian languages themselves, they are translations or adaptations of Sanskrit epics, Sanskrit or other Prakrit epics. But Silappadigaram, Manimekalai is a story that belongs to Tamil Nadu itself. Manimekalai is the story of the daughter of Kovalan and Kannagi, the protagonist of Silappadigaram. And this epic is written by Seethalai Satanar. Both of these, they have a long Asiriyappa structure. So the Asiriyappa is one of the four prominent verse forms in Tamil. And these, they have Kadai as subsection, and they have very long Asiriyappa structure. And that is strikingly different from the other epics, because by the time Sivaka Sindamani is written, the epic format have changed from very long Asiriyappa to continuations of Viruthams. So Virutham is a 4-line song. Could be of different meters, but it's a 4-line song basically, and variety of Viruthams are used for epics. That makes them actually easy to read and enjoyable, and they are more close to musicality. So that difference we see, and that first epic in that order is Sivaga Sindhamani, written by Tirutaka Devar. We will discuss about this Sivaga Sindhamani in detail. So Silapadikaram Manimegalai we already saw in topic 4. So we'll come to this Sivaga Sindhamani. The author is Tirutaka Devar, another Jain monk, and he is coming from Chola clan. Ilangodigal is coming from Chera clan. The Tirutaka Devar is coming from Chola clan, and he is a resident of Madurai. This Sivaga Sindhamani has 13 sections called cantos, kandam, we say, which are also in Tamil called as Ilambagam. So there are 13 Ilambagam, and it contains about 3,145 verses, Virutham songs. And the 13 Ilambagam goes like this: Namagal Ilambagam. Namagal is basically Saraswati. Govindayar Ilambagam. The story of Sivaga Sindhamani is about the protagonist Sivagan. Sivagan is the protagonist of the story. He is a prince who's been taken away from his country from a very young age. So he recaptures his country, and he marries different women. So about 8 women he marries. So that is the story, and how he marries, and how he, after enjoying the household life, Illaram, then he is interested in aesthetics, Thuravaram, and how he obtains liberation by going to aesthetics. So that is the story. So the story basically shows the adventures of Sivagan, and at the end it says that you should be virtuous and you should seek for liberation of the life, for the soul, rather than continuing to enjoying the worldly pleasures. You should try to leave them and then aim for liberation. So that is the message from Sivaga Sindhamani. But it's a very beautiful epic. A lot of information like Silapadikaram, Manimegalai, we can get a lot of information from this about the ancient Tamilagam and other ideas. And so basically, except for the few introductory and closing parts, the Ilambagam, we can see the in-between Ilambagams are all named after the women the protagonist Chivagan marries in that particular part. For example, the second one, Govindayar Ilambagam. So Govindayar, Govindai is the name of the women princess the Chivagan marries in that Ilambagam. So like that, the names are there. So the names themselves tell you who are all the women, the 8 women married by Sivagan. So we'll look at them. So the first one is Namagal Ilambagam. This is like an invocation and a preface, and it sets a story. It sets a stage for the story. And then Govindayar Ilambagam, where Sivagan marries Govindayar, and the other adventures. There are a lot of other adventures. I could not be enumerating all the adventures or the entire story of Sivaga Sindhamani here. The third one is Gandharva Dattayar Ilambagam. So Gandharva Dattai, another woman. Fourth one is Gunamalayar Ilambagam. Gunamalai is the name of the woman. He marries there. Fifth one is Padumayar Ilambagam. Padumai is the name. Kemasariyar Ilambagam. Kshemasari. It's a Sanskrit. All these are Sanskrit names written in Tamil form. Kemasariyar Ilambagam. Kanagamalayar Ilambagam. So he marries the woman Kanagamalai. Vimalayar Ilambagam. Vimalai. Suramanjariyar Ilambagam. Suramanjari is another woman. Manmagal Ilambagam. This Manmagal refers to the land. So this is where Sivagan captures his land back, taking his land back from the Asarpar. Pumagal Ilambagam. Ilakkanayar Ilambagam, another lady he marries, and Mukti Ilambagam. So Mukti Ilambagam is where he seeks liberation and attains liberation through this Jaina philosophy. So that is why this is a Jain work. Unlike Silapadikaram, this is clearly a Jain work. So throughout the work, the author is a Jain, and the work praises Jainism and Jain philosophies and all those things. But in Silapadikaram, we see Ilangodigal praises all religions. So he is praising Saivism, Shiva is praising Vishnu a lot, more than Jainism. Ilangodigal is praising Vishnu a lot. Ilangodigal is very much comparable to the Alvar who came later. So unlike that, this is clearly a Jain work. So with these 13 parts called Ilambagam. This Sivaga Sindhamani is also called as Mana Nool, a wedding text, because there 8 weddings happen, of course, to the same person. These are all accepted in those days, not now anyway. So it's called as Mana Nool, and people believe that reading this, Tamil people have the habit of reading these epics completely, just reading them. It's called Mutrodal. So if you do a Mutrodal, a complete reading of this epic, then definitely in your home, someone will get married. So those who are eligible to get married, definitely married will happen. So if you have any difficulty in arranging for marriage for the people, daughters, son or brothers, sisters like that, people can read Sivaga Sindhamani, and definitely they will get a marriage alliance. The Sivaga Sindhamani was first published by Uvesa, Tamil Tata. We will mention him later. There, Uvesa, so one of his friend has a partial manuscript of the Sivaga Sindhamani, and he was interested, and so he gives this to Uvesa and asks him to correct the manuscript and publish. And Uvesa realizes this is a big epic, and so he goes to many places and takes help from many people, and then finally brings the Sivaga Sindhamani to a publication. And in his biography, Uesa mentions that by the time he finishes all the publication work, his brother got married. So the marriage of his brother, younger brother, was being delayed for some reason. But by the time Uesa was successful in completing the publication of Sivaga Sindhamani, his brother got married. So he mentions that. So Sivaga Sindhamani is said to be a Mananul, and that he really experienced that in his own life. So that is there, and it's also called as Mukti Nool. So because it talks about liberation, so it's a liberation text, Mukti Nool, etc. And there is a beautiful commentary by Nachinar Kinnear. Nachinar Kinnear is one of the prominent commentators of Tamil. So there is a beautiful commentary by Nachinar Kinnear. There is a legend that Nachinar Kinnear initially wrote a commentary for this work. This is a Jain work. Nachinar Kinnear is a Shaivite. It's also from Madurai, but he's a Shaivite person. So initially, whatever he wrote, because this text is interspersed with a lot of Jain philosophy, Nachinar Kinnear seemed to have not completely grasped the ideas properly. So his commentary was rejected by the Jain monks and scholars. Then Nachinar Kinnear joined the Jain monastery and he served there as a monk. He learned all the Jain philosophy for some years in his life. And then he came back and wrote a second commentary, which was unanimously accepted by all the Jain monks and scholars. So that is the length to which this person have gone to write a commentary for this great epic. So we have the beautiful commentary available to us now. So we are all very fortunate to have this both epic and the commentary. So this is Chivaga Sindhamani, one of the great epics in Tamil. The other two, Silappadigaram and Manimeghale, we discussed in topic 4 already in detail. And the other two, Valayapati and Kundalagesi, they are lost for eternity. So unfortunately, they were not available to us. So except for a few verses, about some 70, 30 verses, nothing else is known about them. So these are the 5 great epics still. And one thing, we imagine the Tamil, I deify Tamil language as a goddess. And when we do that, we imagine all these epics being different ornaments for them. See, the very coincidentally, the names of the epics are all based on some ornament. When you say Silappadiharam, Silambu is an anklet. Manimehalai is like a belt, right, which is worn near the hip. Shivaga Sindhamani is a gem. Chindamani is a gem that can give you anything what you like. Valayapati is Valayal, bangles. Kundalagesi is Kundalam, ear jewel. So we depict Tamil Thai, deify Tamil Thai with all these great epics itself as a jewelry. So that's a beautiful imagination for Tamil Thai. And then we come to the Ainjiran Kapiyangal, the 5 lesser epics. As I mentioned, yes, some of them deserve the title lesser epic because in the poetical nature, the depth of the poem, the story, right, the value of the story, the values conveyed, they're all very somewhat similar, smaller. But still, there are like Chulamani, which deserves to be called as a great epic. Nilagesi somewhat comes close to that. The other two are very small ones, as you can see from the count here. So we'll quickly mention them. So as I already mentioned, Udayana Kumara Kavyam. So there's another Brihat Kada. So the Brihat Kada talks about this Udayana Kumara and its adventures in life. So he also marries 4 women, and he's from Vattava Prince Udayana. So the story of Udayana Kumara is already told in Brihat Kada, but Brihat Kada is lost. Some of the portions of Brihat Kada is lost. Only a partial text is available now. But this Udayana Kumara Kavyam tells the same story in a smaller version with only 369 Virtham songs. You can finish this in one sitting. If you sit for one evening, you can finish the epic, small epic. That's why it's a minor epic. This was written by a female Jain monk. We don't know the exact name, but female Jain monks are called Kandiyar. So the author is typically mentioned as Kandiyar, but Kandiyar is not a given name for a person. It refers to female Jain monk. This epic is about from about 1500 CE and it belongs to Jainism, the Kavyam. And the next one is Naga Kumara Kavyam, again written by another Jain monk, probably a female Jain monk. Again, we don't know the name for her. And it contains 170 songs, very small one, 170 Virtham songs from the 16th century CE. Again, a Jainism work. This talks about the story of the Naga Kumara, Magadha prince, his adventures and all those things. And third one is Yasodhara Kavyam. This is affiliated to an author, a poet called Vennaval Udayar Vel. So again, very not a clear affiliation. It contains about 320 Virtham songs from the 13th century. Again, a Jain work. This preaches against animal sacrifice. So what happened? People, especially Hindus, Vedic religion, they were been sacrificing animals, and later on, because of the impact of Jainism and Buddhism, non-violence was spread. So people realized we should not be sacrificing animal. Even then, people were not able to let go of their religious rituals. So they were making dough, flower replications of animals and then sacrificing that. And this epic argues against that. Even that idea of making a replication and that is still equal to killing. So that is the idea here. So that is Jainism working against Vedic religion. So that is there here captured in this epic. And then we have Chulamani, which is a very good epic, very nice. Compared to the other 4, you can see this is one a big epic, a very structured epic, and like Sivaga Sindhamani, which has about 3000 verses. This one has about 2000 verses. So this is definitely deserves to be called as Aimperum Kapiyangal. But somehow someone decided this should be in Ainjiring Kapiyangal. We don't know why. But this was written, authored by a poet called Tola Mori Tevar. See, the name Tola Mori again is not a given name, but it's a title. Tola Mori means a word that is not defeated, that is not never failed. So Tola Mori Tevar means one whose words are very valuable. So Chulamani is another gem. So again, this could be a gem for the Tamil Thai. Right? So she can adorn this in her head. So it has 2,131 Virutham songs. Again, a Jain work. So it talks about the Surama prince Tivitan, right? And this is adapted from Sri Puranam, a Jain work in Sanskrit. So it's a very nice epic. And then finally we have Neela Kesi. Again, the authorship is unknown. It contains about 894 Viruthams, considerably a larger epic. Again, a Jainism epic from the 10th century CE, and this talks about the story of Neeli. So, still in the western Ghats of Tamilnadu, people consider there is a ghost like apparition available called the Neeli. So, this talks about this, and this is supposed to be an antithesis of Kundalakesi. So, Kundalakesi, one of the five great epics affiliated to Buddhism, which is lost now. So, this story is said to be affiliated, is a sort of a response to Kundalakesi, and this establishes Jainism, refuting Buddhism. So that is the story of Nilagesi. Still a good epic comparably, but among these five, this Chulamani is a very nice epic. It deserves to be a great epic. And you can see all the five lesser epics are Jain works, unlike the greater epics where we have both Jainism and Buddhism work. But these are all Jain works. These are the five lesser epics of Tamil. And there are a lot of other epics, very notable epics in Tamil. So I already mentioned Perungadai by Kongu Velir. This is the old one, old Perungadai. It's supposed to be near Sangam literature itself. So about around 300 CE, comparable to Silappadiharam. And this is adapted from the Prakrit Brihat Kada, the story of Udayana and his son Naravana Datta, their adventures and all those things. And then we have a Ramakadai by Kambar. This was a 12th century work. This is a very prominent epic in Tamil. So Tamilnadu, many people have read this Kambar. People have a lot of forums which celebrate Kambar. So the Ramayanam, now we call this as Kamba Ramayanam. Ramayanam by Kambar, Kamba Ramayanam, but the original title is Rama Kadai. Kadai means story of Rama. So this is a beautiful adaptation of the Valmiki Ramayanam, but Kambar make his own changes. He is coming so many years, so thousands of years up, beyond the Valmiki, so he makes necessary changes. So unlike the Valmiki Ramayana, which has 7 cantos, the Kamba Ramayanam only has the 6 cantos, the first 6 cantos, Balakandam, Ayodhya Kandam, Aranya Kandam, Kishkinda Kandam, Sundara Kandam, and Yuddha Kandam. Only these 6 are there. The last one, Uttara Kandam, is not found in Kamba Ramayana, but the contemporary poet of Kambar, Ottakuttar, he have sung this Uttarakandam, which is there, which is typically not read along with this Kamba Ramayana for various superstitions. And this has about 10,000 songs, a very big epic you can see. So that has about 10,589 songs. It has Kamba Ramayana, a beautiful epic. Kamban is known for his beautiful chandams in the Virtham songs, the rhythmic meters he uses, and the beautiful wordings. His prowess of the Tamil language is very much celebrated. So, like in English, when you say rocket science, if you say something is complicated, in English we say, is it rocket science? We'll say. In Tamil, there is a phrase which says, Idena Kamba Sutrama. So, Kamba Sutram means, is it like the Kamban's epic? So, anything complicated, deep in nature, right, very difficult to approach for ordinary people, we call that as Kamba Sutram, like rocket science. So, you can then understand the prowess of Kambar. So, Kambar is considered to be one of the greatest poet of Tamil, at par with Ilango Adigal and Thiruvalluvar. So, that is Ramakadai of Kambar. And then we have Periya Puranam, which is a Shaivite work. This lists the history Puranam of the 63 Nayanmars. We will talk about Nayanmars in the next topic, Bhakti literature topic. This is written by Shekiyar, which is having 2 sections and about 13 subsections called okay. Okay. So it has 2 sections and about 4,286 Virutham songs in this. In this 4,286 songs, about 1,200 songs, they only sing the Puranam of Thirunyana Sambandar, one of the prominent Nayanmar in Shaivam, the most prominent Nayanmar in Shaivam. So that is why we have a proverb, Pillai Padi, Puranam Padi. So almost half the epic is dedicated to Thirunyana Sambandar. The rest, all the Nayanmars are dealt with the other half of the epic. So this is coming from about the 11th century. Shekiyar is a contemporary of Kulothunga Chola. And then we have Kanda Puranam, which is a later day work about from 14th century, another Shaivite work sung by Kachiyappa Sivacharya. This is also a very big epic. This is adapted from the Sanskrit source, Shiva Puranam and Linga Puranam and Skanda Puranam of Sanskrit. So adaptation from there. It also has about 10,000 songs. Again, very another beautiful and widely read epic. And then we have Kanji Puranam, which sings about the merits of the Kanji temple. Kanjipuram, we have Kanjipuram, we have the Egambaranadar temple. So it talks about the merits, the praises of this place, Kanjipuram, the city, as well as the temple, all those things. That's why it's called named after the place as Kanji Puranam. This was sung by Sivanyana Munivar. It has about 3,000 Virutham songs. It is a very later day work, about from the 18th century. And then we have Thiruvilayadal Puranam by Paranjodi Munivar. There are a couple of Thiruvilayadal Puranams across the history. The one which is mostly very prized and completely available is this epic by Paranjodi Munivar, about some 3,000 plus Virutham songs. This is a 16th century work. So you can see in the later day there are so many Vaishnavam and Shaivism works appear. That is because in the 6th century we have the Bhakti movement. So before that there are a lot of Jain works, and after that we have Shaivam Vaishnavam works available in Tamilnadu. So it all depends on the patronage, especially the kings. So all the kings and the chieftains and all the philanthropists whom they are patronizing. So those religion, those people will flourish, and their literature will flourish. And there are many other epics. So Tamil language had epics throughout its history, starting from the Sangam literature, the possible Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Perundadai, Silappadiharam, starting from those 2000 years back up to even now. Even recently, we have even now modern poets. There are in contemporary poets. They are composing epics. So Tamil epic is a huge line, and there are so many good epics are there. I cannot be listing all of them, so I will mention a few other prominent epics which are coming from the later day, giving them in chronological order. So there is a later day rendition of Mahabharatam called as Villi Bharadam, because this is sung by a poet called Villi Putturar. Again, Villi Puttur is a place named, so we don't know the actual name of the person. Villi Putturar means the person from Villi Puttur. So this is a 16th century work. And then we have a Islamic work called Sira Puranam from the 17th century by a poet called Umaru Pulavar. Umar is Umar. So in Tamil we call him as a Umaru Pulavar. So Sira Puranam is there. And then we have a Christian work by Constanzo Veschi, is also famously known as Veerama Munivar, again from the 17th, 18th century. This is called Themba Ani. So Themba Ani sings about the Jesus and his father. So that is there, a beautiful Tamil work. And he is actually a Italy person, and he learned Tamil, and even Veerama Munivar written Tamil grammars and also such a extent event. And then we have a great person called Mahavidwan Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai from the later part of the 19th century. He is the teacher guru of Tamil Tata Uve Saminatha Iyer. So he's a very great poet actually. That's why people call him Mahavidwan. He is very prolific in his poetry. He is said to have written more than 1 lakh poems in his lifetime, 1 lakh verses in different forms, different minor literatures, and so many epics he have written. He writes epics in the form of Tala Puranam or Sthala Purana, like Kanji Puranam. So for a given temple, especially Shaivite temple, so he's a Shaivite person. So all the temples he have sung is Shaivite temples, Shivan temples. So a very ancient Shivan temple is there. So they will sing about the history of that, all the miracles that happened in that temple, and what will be the benefit of going to that temple and worshipping there. So that all those things, and they will also describe the environment, the beauty of the nature, everything, right? So that is what a Tala Puranam is. So it's basically like a history plus legend of the place and the temple there. So he have sung so many such Tala Puranams. People come to him and request him to come to their place, stay there, and know the history there, and sing the Tala Puranams. Many temples already had a Tala Puranam in Sanskrit. So frequently he will also adapt that and translate that into Tamil. Not a word by word translation, but adaptation. So that is also done. But he has done so many epics. They're all like in epic forms. They typically vary from 1,000 to about 3,000 verses. So he has done so many such Tala Puranams, very notable person. And then in the very modern, close to modern time, the 18th, 20th century, we have Mahakavi Bharadiyar, who have written a lot of epics like Panjali Sabadam. They typically called as minor epics, but still they are very worthwhile. Panjali Sabadam, Kuyil Pattu, Kannan Pattu, etc. And then we have Pavendar Bharatidasan, again a 20th century Tamil poet. Pandian Parisu, Kudumba Vilakku, Irinda Veedu, like that. So they have sung very beautiful Tamil epics there. So all this shows that Tamil had a very long, continuous history of these traditions of Kapiyangal. So that is Tamil Kapiyangal. So I just given a glimpse of the ocean of Tamil epics, Tamil Kapiyangal to you. So thank you very much. We'll go to the next topic.